Daemon Targaryen and Aemon Targaryen killed each other above the god's eye. 2 dragons plunged into the lake, 2 riders with them. Nephew and uncle, locked together in the air, both dead. And in King's Landing, Rhaenyra was left alone, without a husband, without allies, without dragons to protect her. The city she had conquered turned against her. The people revolted. Mobs surged toward the dragon pit and did what no enemy could. They killed dragons. With bare hands, with spears, with torches. Thousands died, but the dragons died too. Joffrey, Rhaenyra's son, wanted to save his dragon. He begged his mother to let him go. She refused. So the boy secretly mounted Syrax, his mother's dragon. He had never ridden her before. Dragons accept only one rider in their lifetime. Syrax threw him mid-flight. Joffrey hit the stones, dead. While Rhaenyra was losing the capital, Aegon II had secretly reached Dragonstone, crippled, burned, broken legs and half his body scarred from the battle at Rook's Rest, but alive. And his dragon Sunfire, also alive, barely, with a torn wing, but alive. Aegon found men on Dragonstone willing to support him. Sir Alfred Broom, a knight of the garrison, turned the soldiers to the Greens. When Rhaenyra sailed in, the island was no longer hers. Her guards were killed. She was seized, brought before Aegon. They stood facing each other, half-brother and half-sister, 2 children of one father, who destroyed each other for a throne. Rhaenyra said, "Dear brother, I had hoped you were dead." Aegon answered, "After you are the elder." Then he gave the command. Sunfire, wounded, crippled, bathed Rhaenyra in flame. She managed to raise her head to the sky and scream one last curse. Then Sunfire closed his jaws. 6 bites. Only her left leg below the knee remained. Her son stood beside her, a 10-year-old boy, watching a dragon devour his mother. One of the ladies-in-waiting, Elinda Massey, gouged out her own eyes so she would never have to see anything again. The boy was not harmed. His name was Aegon, same as his uncle, the killer. Aegon II kept him alive, for now, planned to decide later, execution or the wall. The Dance of the Dragons was over. Both sides had burned. Dragons, dead. Kings, dead. Rhaenyra, dead. But the war was not yet done. Aegon II returned to King's Landing, the victor, the king. But at what cost? His children, dead. His sister-wife Helena, dead. His brother Aemond, dead. His dragon, dying. Aegon himself, broken, burned, could not walk without a litter, drank milk of the poppy for the pain. and 3 armies marched on the capital. From the north, Cregan Stark. From the Riverlands, Lord Tully. From the Vale, Knights of Arryn, all for Rhaenyra's son, all against Aegon. His counselors begged him to surrender, take the black, go to the wall, live. Aegon refused, ordered that young Aegon, Rhaenyra's son, have his ear cut off and sent to the enemy as a warning. After that, he climbed into his litter. As always, a cup of Arbor Red waited inside, his favorite wine. He drank, fell asleep. When the litter stopped, Sir Giles Belgrave pulled back the curtain. The king was dead, blood on his lips, the wine poisoned. Who did it? No one ever learned. Larys Strong? Corlys Velaryon? Someone on the small council? Unknown. But someone decided a dead Aegon was better than a living one. The throne sat empty, the capital without a king. 3 armies at the gates. And then the wolf came. Cregan Stark, Lord of Winterfell, the Wolf of the North. He had sworn to Rhaenyra, personally, the pact of ice and fire, forged with her son Jacaerys, who had flown to Winterfell on a dragon. The Starks gave their word, and Starks do not break oaths. Cregan raised an army, not an ordinary army. The Winter Wolves, they called them. Old men, childless men, homeless men, younger sons no one could afford to feed through winter. They marched south not for glory, but so their families would have enough food. They marched to die, and they knew it. Cregan led them south, through the neck, past the twins, to King's Landing. He was too late for the war. Rhaenyra had been dead long before he arrived. Jacaerys, dead. Daemon, dead. Everyone he had sworn to protect, dead. But the oath lived. Cregan marched not for Rhaenyra, for her son, for the word he had given. And when he learned that Aegon II had been poisoned, he was not pleased. He was furious. Not because he mourned Aegon. Aegon was his enemy. Fed a woman to a dragon before her child's eyes. Deserved death. But not like that. For Cregan Stark, murder by poison is not justice. It is cowardice. If you want to kill a king, stand before him. Look him in the eye. Take your sword and kill him, like a man. Do not slip poison into his wine like a rat. Whoever poisoned Aegon would answer for it, no matter whose side they were on. Justice does not choose sides. Cregan Stark entered King's Landing, with his army, in silence. The people of the capital, who had just been celebrating the end of the war, went quiet. Northmen marched through the streets, grim, bearded, wrapped in heavy furs. No smiles, no greetings. They had not come to celebrate. They had come for justice. Cregan took power, named himself Hand of the King. No one objected, because there was no one left to object, and because 10,000 Northmen stood in the yard of the Red Keep. Young Aegon, Rhaenyra's son, was locked in Maegor's holdfast, for his own safety. The boy was 11. He had already watched a dragon devour his mother. Now, he sat in a stone room and waited, not knowing what came next. Cregan began his trial. 22 men arrested. Everyone he suspected of involvement in the poisoning of Aegon II. Among them, Corlys Velaryon, the sea snake, the old lord who had outlived everyone and everything. and Larys Strong, the clubfoot, former master of whisperers, a man everyone suspected and who never denied a thing. Cregan wanted justice, not vengeance, justice. He did not care who had been green or who had been black. One question: who was guilty of killing the king? And the guilty would answer. The court froze. Lords who had just been feasting now stood before a Northman with gray eyes and waited for the verdict. "6 days. That is how long the hour of the wolf lasted. Corlys Velaryon was saved. Baela and Rhaenyra, the old lord's granddaughters, went to young Aegon, convinced him to pardon their grandfather. The boy, who in days would become king, signed the pardon. Cregan accepted, reluctantly, but accepted. Because the word of a king is the word of a king, even if the king is 11 years old. 19 of the accused agreed to take the black, go to the wall, live but in exile forever. 2 refused: Larys Strong and Sir Giles Belgrave, knight of Aegon's Kingsguard. Both accepted death, did not run, did not beg. Larys asked for one thing, a final mercy, to cut off his crippled foot, so that in death he would finally be free of the deformity he had carried his whole life. Cregan looked at him and gave his word. Cregan Stark took ice, the ancestral Valyrian steel sword of House Stark, heavy, broad, dark as winter water. By northern custom, the man who passes the sentence swings the sword. Not a headsman, not a servant, you yourself. Because if you cannot look a man in the eye before you kill him, then he does not deserve to die. Cregan looked and swung himself. Their heads were placed on spikes above the gates of the Red Keep. The next day, he resigned as Hand. 1 day officially, 6 days in truth. That was enough. Ravens were sent across Westeros. Lannisters, Hightowers, Baratheons, all former supporters of the Greens, all accepted the terms of peace. All surrendered. The boy, Rhaenyra's son, sat on the Iron Throne. Aegon III Targaryen, 11 years old, with eyes that had no childhood left in them. They would call him Aegon the Unhappy, or the Dragonbane, because under his reign, the last dragons would die and never return. And Cregan Stark rode home, to the north, quietly, without a feast, without glory. The Northmen never needed this Iron Throne, not gold, not power, not a crown. For the North, honor was always worth more than any throne. He came, did what had to be done, and left. Because Starks do not come for power. Starks come for justice. And when justice is done, they go home.